That's nice.
Good morning. How you doing?
Look how animated he is. Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Good morning, Columbus. Welcome to Down the Garden Path. It's our weekly gardening and landscape show brought to you by Greenscapes Landscape Company. I'm your host, Bill Gerhardt. I'm also the owner of Greenscapes. Today, I have back with me Michael Morris from Morris Media.
How are you, Bill?
Good, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. I know that you just came back from Oregon, so you're probably ready to talk about all the beautiful colors and trees and shrubbery today. So if you're ready to go, I think we can get into that.
I'm ready. That was quite a trip out to Oregon.
Now, I will say that you said after coming back, it was a little hotter here than it was there.
Yeah, it was very hot in Oregon. It was in the 90s, but it actually felt warmer here because of humidity.
Right.
Oregon has very little humidity. So I think 92 felt like about 82 out there.
Well, welcome back to Columbus.
Yeah, welcome back.
Well, let's get into, I know you've got some exciting stuff today, so let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, first thing is, I've had Mark for the last couple of weeks, and we talked about a couple of different projects and how to look at trends in landscaping. But what I want to know is, you started the company over 41 years ago, and you're known for your landscaping designs and installation, but we don't really get to talk about the exciting parts of this and the emotion that goes into when you're designing these and putting them out.
Yeah, really, landscaping has evolved to much more than just plantings and trees and shrubs and grass and mowing grass and all that. It really, what's amazing to me as I look back on 41 years is how now it's evolved to anything outside that building envelope, and including the rooftop. We're doing so many things on the rooftop.
Yeah, Mark mentioned that. It was one of the trends was not just what you're planting in the ground, but what the structures you're building to make it more of the outside more of a homey feel. Right,
and with all this new urbanization of our, downtown core, you see all the new multifamily developments, apartments, condos going in. They need rooftop gardens. So
now, is that
talk
something?
About that a little bit.
Well, my question on that is, when did that trend really kind of kick off? Because I know you've been doing them, but is this something in 41 years? Is this something that just started like a decade ago, 5 years ago?
I mean, there's always been. I mean, you go back to the Hanging Garden of Babylon. There's been rooftop gardens,
Right.
but they become very popular lately. But some of the other things we do, do live roofs, we do live walls, we do rain gardens, permeable paver parking lots. Irrigation, of course, is part of all that, but site furniture is a big part of what we do now. Anything outside that building, from benches to bike racks to tables and chairs, all that stuff.
Can I ask you, when you're doing that, because we discussed the outdoor fire pits, having a deck built and having these things kind of inlaid inside of there, what's the excitement for you when someone wants that project? I mean, it's not really out of the box, but it's got to be something that you look forward to versus I'm just putting in 9 hedges or something like that, and they have to be asymmetrical. I mean, do you kind of take the creativity side of that and say, here's what I'm thinking, or how do you develop that plan?
You kind of have to ask the client, well, why do you want benches? Why do you want tables? How many bicycles do you expect to have? And then let's look at the best place on your site for that, and using our design ability. Some of the designs, of course, are done. Some of the commercial jobs are done, and we bid on that. But then we can help the client with, what are the benches going to be made of? What's the finish going to be? What do we know from experience? What's the best bench that's going to last the longest? How do you attach it?
Do you get a lot of blowback on that? If you say, well, I wouldn't make this out of this certain material, you should do this. Is it, how far can you educate a client before, I mean, they're the ultimate decision maker.
Well, if you tell them, hey, we had experience with this and we think this is a better product, or we think maybe this is a better solution, and then, how are they attached to the environment? Are you bolting them down? Are you just bolting them to the concrete? Are you actually, putting them into a hole with some kind of epoxy to hold them there? Because they will get up and people move them around, or they get up and walk,
right?
All that. So, we're also starting to do, all these large retaining walls around town, whether it's natural stone or concrete products. And then a big one is artificial putting greens, especially for these multifamily things. Synthetic greens, and what's kind of exciting now is they have antibacterial synthetic golf greens for your dog.
Really?
So, yeah, you figure all these little urban spaces, they don't really have room to put in natural grass where the dogs would kill it, by using it, going to the bathroom. So they developed this grass that is antibacterial, and you make a little dog park, put the watering station, automatic watering station in for the dog and all that. And then, of course, the owners still have to clean up after their dog.
Right.
If they
But
go
it's
on
not
the
killing
grass,
the grass.
it's not killing the grass, and the grass, the artificial turf is a antibacterial type material in it that will kill some of the germs and stuff that you would have from that.
Is that more of if somebody's trying to use a smaller area, or are you seeing that people that have bigger yards kind of want to cordon a space off for that?
No, it's primarily for smaller dog parks, like in urban areas. We've done a couple in Grandview, and I think part of that is because more and more people that are buying or renting these units in urban areas, they have pets.
Mm-hmm.
And the apartment owners have gotten kind of smart, whereas before, it used to be hard to even rent something if you had a pet, even a cat. Now they're saying, we'll welcome them.
Well, there is a trend. I was just reading this yesterday that more people, younger couples, are getting together and they're using a dog as kind of like a starter kid. So before we see if we are going to make it when we bring a child in, let's get a dog and see if we can manage this, which I think would appeal to those people that have, the entry-level home might be out of your price range, but getting a condo, an apartment, you're going to have to count on that dog. I mean, it's going to go to the bathroom somewhere, and you have to, it's your home, especially if it's a condo. You have to build something for your lifestyle.
In Oregon, we went out to visit our grandkids, who are 3 and 1. And I don't know if you can compare kids that age to a dog, because a kid at 3 and 1, it'd be like having 6 puppies.
Yeah, I think taking care of one dog would be easier than those 2 ages, I can tell you.
Yeah, we had fun. It's kind of neat that now they're welcoming the pets. And, a lot of people have service dogs for different reasons beyond just sight impairment. People have them for...
Therapy dogs are a big deal,
dogs,
too.
Yeah.
So outside of those, the retaining walls and that, one of the things that we talked about a little bit last week with Mark was the rain garden. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, Greenscapes has installed a lot of rain gardens. It's become very popular because, the cities that we live in now, like Columbus, they weren't designed for all this hardscape, all these driveways, roof drains, everything coming into the storm sewers. So they've become overloaded. So cities are saying, how can we either stop this rain from going into our storm sewers and overloading it, or slow it down? So they used to build those big detention ponds, where they would fill up and then slowly the water would go out. And those had their own problems, and they took up a lot of land. So now they're going in and they're creating rain gardens, which is really, it's a depressed or low area that they've artificially created. So the rain goes in it. It's usually 3 to 6 foot deep, and it's filled with a sand-based soil. So what's going to happen, it's just like at the beach, you watch that water go in the beach, it kind of disappears. Mm-hmm. So the water goes in, the rain garden is directed in there with a pipe. It could come off your gutter, it could come off your lawn. It goes into the rain garden and slowly dissipates down into the soil, and then that rain garden is planted with like native plants that will help absorb it, and then they filter out some of the pollutants, the nitrates and phosphorus, and some of the stuff's coming off the lawns. The beauty of it is that you're cleaning the water up, taking the pollutants out of it, but you're also holding that water in that rain garden. Eventually, the idea is that the rain would, permeate all the way down into the ground, even back into the well, which could be hundreds of foot deep.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that different than the fountain approach, where I know we've talked about this before, where you have to keep it can gather, it just has water rising out of it, but
right.
It could gather, whether it's birds are using it or whatever. It's just kind of sitting still. Does the rain garden have a different effect because it is taking those nutrients or the pollutants out.
Absolutely, that's the whole idea. Is that the rain garden ideally would hold all the rain that comes into it from piping into it, and then the plants will take and use the nitrates, nitrogen, and the phosphorus, in developing that plant.
And that's
So
what they
instead of
need,
going-
right?
yeah.
So it's a benefit to the plants, but also a benefit to your property overall.
Right, and the two pollutants that we don't want in our water system are there's the phosphates, like think of the algae blooms in Lake Erie, that's phosphate, and the nitrates. You don't want those into the water. Well, both of those are fertilizers. They're natural fertilizers, but they're also in the lawn products you put on. So now we found a way with the rain gardens to intercept that. And Greenscapes did the largest ones in Central Ohio a few years back. We did probably 20 little rain gardens along Hoover Reservoir. And we probably did 8 or 10 at Griggs. And the whole idea is, as you probably know, Griggs is a water source for Columbus, and Hoover is probably the major water source for the city of Columbus. So to intercept that, the runoff from the highway and the houses and all stuff surrounding those areas, there are rain gardens. Before the water can get in the reservoir, it's intercepted at the rain garden.
Who came up with that? I mean, is that something where somebody with the state knew that and recommended they do that, or is that something where they came to you and you said this would be better for you overall?
Yeah, I mean, it was an EPA type grant, and there's also a shovel ready project. Doing the shovel ready project.
Yeah.
So they had obviously engineering and landscape architects working on this project. We bid it. Eichel Company was the general contractor, and we worked with Eichel. We did the planting and help them with put the soil in and all of that.
Did you also have to do the drawings of where they would be? Like you had to create it from scratch, right?
No, somebody else. They had designers do that, because Greenscape's a big part of what we do. We also bid, other people's drawings, commercial drawings that other architects and engineers would draw.
How big a pain is that? I mean, you are a design build firm. Is that something where you look at it as we could do this so much better, or is it kind of like we'll go? Are they the client in that case, and you go, we'll just go with it because they already put it.
No, they're the client, and usually they will ask us, hey, do you have any ideas here to make it better? Or big one is cost savings. Is there a way to save costs? And now they've got a word they call value engineering, which is really just cost savings.
It just sounds sexier to say it the other way.
Yeah. So that's what like I said, anything outside the building, Greenscapes is asked to do, and we just over time have developed that attitude that let's do this.
Well, that also applies to permeable pavers, correct?
Correct.
That's another piece. Can you kind of give the audience a little spiel on what that is?
Yeah, I mean, permeable pavers have been around for probably 10, 12, 15 years. The whole idea is when you were a kid, everybody had gravel driveways.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the rain didn't necessarily wash down the gravel driveway out in the street into the gutter. It went down into the driveway. So the whole idea is with permeable pavers is that rather than the rain washing over a parking lot, most of it will go down between the pavers. There's gaps in the pavers or holes filled with gravel. So the idea is the rain will go down below the pavers. Usually there's a drainage layer of gravel underneath that. It could be a couple foot deep, so that rain can lay in there. Sometimes it's piped below there. But the idea is that the water is not washing into the street. After it goes in the gutter in the street, it goes where? Right to the river.
Right to the source.
Yeah. So we did a nice permeable paver job at Griggs Reservoir on the Bogey Inn side. And and there was rain garden right in the center. It's pretty cool. And then we're doing one right now in the Polaris area for Elford Construction at the Point of Polaris. It's a new residential, retail, and office complex right across from Cabela's. This will have a big permeable paving parking lot.
Are these also ecologically better to do the permit, or it's just another option of a design? I mean,
No, it's ecologically better because you're stopping the storm water at its source. Again, the pollutants are going down in between the pavers, being absorbed by the ground and the gravel and all that, and can be cleaned up that way.
How would people know? I mean, is that something where you'd have to research that to know that, right, for your own property? I mean, a commercial project might be different, but I would think that that'd be an option you guys would probably bring up to somebody.
Yeah, some cities are allowing that because, like I know Dublin, they have a amount of hardscape that you're allowed to put on your lot. You're only allowed to have so much hardscape, meaning
It's already dictated
roof
to you.
area, driveways, sidewalks. Yeah, you can't exceed that. So in some cities, they'll give you an allowance if you put in like permeable pavers. They won't count that towards that hardscape.
But Greenscapes would know that more
Yeah,
so
we would
than
know
the
that.
residential homeowner would know, because you could say this is what you're allowed to do. I mean, you
Right.
built so many things in those areas, you have the experience to know that.
Correct. And it's a coming thing. You're going to see more and more the rooftop gardens. They're not mandated yet. The green roofs, we should talk about that in the next segment.
Yeah.
And
Well, why don't we
permeable
take a break
pavers and all
here, and
that.
then we will talk about that the next segment, because I don't want to
Okay.
skip over that.
That's fine.
I'll send us the break. You're listening to Down the Garden Path. Sorry, I didn't step on you.
That's fine.
All right, so let's talk about that. Tell me again what you just said, because I was reading
Or the
something.
permeable.
We did permeable pavers, and then
Your
we-
mic.
Oh.
You got to be careful with this.
Oh, I'm
That
sorry.
could actually kill the
Sorry.
seed.
Oops. We did talk about the rooftop gardens over here.
But you were going to kind of bring it back.
Yep.
Some of that. Okay. Sorry, Doug.
No, just if you hit that space bar, it'll stop the recording, and that would suck in the middle of recording.
Well, we're hot right now. All right, if you're ready, I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, so
We
we're
do
going
a
to go
promo
back
for
to...
Greenscapes too at
Yeah,
some
yeah,
point.
hit that. I would also let people know that you're hiring too.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So we're going to go rooftop gardens after that.
Yep.
All right.
You gonna start it then?
You go ahead.
Okay. Welcome back to Down the Garden Path. I'm Bill Gerhardt, your host. I'm talking to Michael Morris today with Morris Media, and we are discussing all the different things you can do in the landscape right now. And as a landscape company, I always get asked at a party or some event, well, what do you do? And I guess everybody assumes that we mow grass.
Right.
Well, we do mow grass, but we do all these other things. And part of it, one of them is rooftop gardens. We were just discussing that rooftop gardens have become a pretty big item for us.
Well, not that it's just trendy, but also that it's a good thing for the environment. You know, and it's a good look, but it also benefits your property. If you're a residential or commercial owner, it's better for you to have that.
Right, and people, it's an amenity. People can go up on the rooftop now instead of just being, black rubber roof, or sometimes they put the rock ballast up there. Now you've got a green oasis up there with seating areas and tiles. We can put tiles and wood deck tiles, everything you want up there, and furniture.
Would it be easier to maintain something like that versus having that black top or that hard surface where it's just getting beaten on?
Yeah, Greenscapes has done quite a few of them, but we just did one for Edwards Companies at downtown at 51 North High, which is apartments. They renovated a building and built new apartments on the 5th floor. So it was several thousand feet of colorful sedums and irrigation. We closed part of High Street on Saturday, and we finished it all in one afternoon. But you crane these trays up, they're pre-planted, and you're putting it right on top of the membrane, the roof membrane. So what you're doing is, instead of having a black surface that could get 150 degrees on a summer day, now you've got growing plants that are going to be just about the same temperature as the daytime temperature. So you're cutting out 50, 60 degrees of temperature off that rooftop.
So people can actually use it versus avoid that space.
Well, and it's also like in Chicago, they mandate that any new buildings in the downtown core have green roofs because they're trying to cool off these cities. And they're finding that green roofs are a good way to do that.
Do they do that in Atlanta? Because I know I forget what the name of it is, but they say there's more concrete in Atlanta because they've knocked all these trees out because they're such a big city, but they could be 25 degrees hotter or feel that way because there's no escape from the heat.
Well, a lot of cities are doing that, but the other reason they're doing it is because of the runoff, because You know, a green roof will absorb about 80% of the rainfall that falls on that roof. And the plants will use it. We discussed about, you know, the plants will use the water.
Mm-hmm.
They also take the pollutants out because they will filter out the pollutants and use them to grow. But the big one is just intercepting that water, because you don't want that, you know, water coming off a, you know, black roof with all the pollution and air pollution that's gathered there and all the birds that are up there and all that. So now you're filtering that out, and the water's not going down into the river.
So this isn't something that's trendy just for now. This is something that is going to be here for the long term, right? I mean, we've got more people concerned about the environment. This seems like something they would add in. So my question would be, how many other people can build these things? I mean, how many other companies? Because you've been around 41 years, I would think there's a lot of people that say, oh, we can do it, but if you don't have the experience.
Yeah, we had to get special training, so we're live roof and live wall certified. And you know, we had to go to special classes and get certified by the companies that manufacture this stuff. So live roof has irrigation integrated, and the trays are pre-planted, and you can get different design mixtures. You can probably put about anything you want in those design-wise. But then they have a standard mix too, like if you have a short duration project where you can't custom grow it.
Mm-hmm.
But you can custom grow what you want in those trays.
I would think that you'd have more people that need this education versus you guys are already certified to do it. And I'm not trying to just blow smoke up you, but it just seems like that's such a niche thing now that it's going to grow, and you guys are kind of already ahead of the curve.
Yeah, we've done a lot of them, and they're very interesting to do. They do have some maintenance. You know, we'll follow up and maintain them. We go up there about every 2 weeks and make sure there's no weeds, pull all the weeds if there are there. Once a year, you have to trim them down, and you leave the trimmings on the trays because, like with sedum, they'll regenerate. So just the trimming will drop down into the sand and start growing roots and grow new plants. So that way your plants don't become thin.
What happens during the winter? I mean, what's the care? Does
None,
it kind of
really.
regenerate itself once the season hits again? I mean, is it like any other tree?
Winter, it's actually not a big deal. These plants are hardy, but usually the snow will provide them moisture and some insulation also, because snow insulates pretty well.
So you can leave it. I mean, if you purchase this and you put it on your property, you don't have to specially treat it or anything. It's going to come back like, you know, like a flower, like a perennial or something.
Yeah, it's going to come back like a perennial. You know, there's irrigation usually integrated into the tray system, so you'd have to, you know, shut that irrigation off, just blow it out, like you would an irrigation system at your house.
So how much planning do you have to do at Greenscapes to, you know, from start to finish of these jobs? I'm talking about the residential, because some commercial stuff is probably already pre-planned out, but if somebody called you today and said, I want one of these things, what's the installation time for that?
Well, if they select an off-the-shelf type plant, you know, pre-planted, there's not a whole lot of lead time. But the first thing you have to do is look at the live load of the roof to make sure they can take the extra weight of these trays. So if the roof wasn't designed for it, you know, you may not want to put it on there because your roof could collapse.
Well, is that where the wall comes in? Instead of the roof doing the wall?
Yeah, we do live walls. We did our first one for Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens at their new entry. If you haven't been down there, it's pretty cool. But the old entry was kind of awkward. It was kind of off to the side, and you got it. You look, you know, you're looking at the steps, and one way's the ramp, one way's the steps. You're not sure which way to go. So they designed a brand new entryway on the east, and it was our idea is, hey, let's do a live wall on both those columns because they were 2 stories high. And obviously, you're coming into a place that is about horticulture,
Right.
and so we helped design, and we installed the live wall there. So when you first come in, the first thing you see is 2 big columns of green that are probably 30 foot tall.
Wow.
And the nice thing about the live wall, what I like especially about it, is it's a tray system. So you can take the trays out and put new trays in. So like conservatory, if they have an orchid show, they'll take some of the trays out and put orchids in. And just the same day, take the old tray out, put a new tray in. There's irrigation integrated into the system, so they just turn it on they tell me, for about 5 to 10 minutes a day. Water, any of the excess water that drains down goes all the way to the bottom through a piping system, and then into a drain.
Now you're going to New York next week, so you'll be able to take pictures of these very things, and
Right.
pictures and video. So I think, not that we won't be doing a show, we will be, but if people look on the Greenscapes Facebook and on your website, that'll all be there. I mean, you'll be able to show live examples of this.
Yeah, I'm on the board at Franklin Park Conservatory and Botanical Gardens. We're doing a retreat to New York City. We started this when I was president to go and visit other cities and see what they're doing in their public gardens. So we're going to Central Park. We're going to New York Botanical Gardens and a few other places that it's kind of nice because we kind of get a backyard type, tour of the place. And we
Well, it'd
meet
be
with
cool
the
because
directors.
you can do it on Facebook Live like we discussed, or
Yeah.
take pictures. But what we're talking about today, you're going to see that, in practice. You're going to one of
Correct.
the biggest cities there is, and you're going to see the walls. I don't know about the permeable pavers there, but you're going to see
I'm
the
sure they
walls. You're going
have
to see. I'd be curious to see where you're going if somebody would have. It would be awesome if you could find one.
Oh yeah.
But those rooftop items, it'll be cool to be actually able to see it.
It will be, and like I say, the behind-the-scenes information that they can go to our website and
Right.
see this
Or
too,
your Facebook. Don't
Greenscapes.net,
forget that.
Greenscapes Facebook page.
Right.
Or if you have questions, you can always call us at 614-837-1869.
And before we sign off, I know that you wanted to talk about the Greenscapes is hiring.
Yes, we are hiring right now. We're looking for a landscape designer and a landscape design salesperson. We've got some crew leader positions open, both in maintenance and also construction.
Cool. Well, we're looking forward to seeing all your Facebook posts on this New York trip. And then you'll probably be back in 2 weeks, and I think I'll have Mark Aubrey, and we'll talk behind your back while you're gone.
All right, that sounds good. I'll be listening.